So, guys, tonight we're going to talk a lot about roster construction, how to build a winning dynasty team. But I saw in YouTube somebody had this question. I figured we start off with a bang here, guys. What's the 101 worth right now, Scott? What do you think?
Well, it's a loaded question, but let's just start here. First of all, it is probably one of the most coveted assets. So think about it from that perspective. It's not only a coveted asset, but it's also an asset that isn't going to play a game between now and next March. It's not an asset that has a chance of getting hurt, not an asset that has a chance of something changing in their situation. So think about that. Even when you're lining up player for player, pick package for player or pick for package of players, think about those things. Think about essentially having a liquid asset that can't be touched until then. I mean, sure, you could have something happen to Bijan Robinson. That's pretty much the only thing that could happen. But other than that, you have the flexibility of the pick. So I'll just keep it simple. I think if you're talking a super flex league, it's clearly a first round startup pick. And there are only, by my calculations, there are only 10 players in Dynasty I would even consider a trade for it. So you're talking just Chase and Jefferson. And then you're talking about the top 8 quarterbacks. And I think we already kind of know who those guys are. You have Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Burrow, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray. If you want to throw Justin Fields in there, I don't, but some people might. But that's where the target has to be. It has to be almost one of those 10 players. And then you have to decide, are you the one? You could also argue if you're trading the 101 for Jefferson or Chase, you can ask for a second back or something like that. I mean, if you're trying to leverage the asset for max value, you can ask for the plus. If it's not Mahomes or Josh Allen, I think you could argue that at least you're in the ballpark of it's 1-for-1. So I think that's it. I think whether you add or whether you get a piece back, those are the only 10 players I am interested for if I'm moving the 101, unless I'm just getting, Jonathan Taylor and 2 firsts or something stupid where I'm like, okay, I can't turn that down. If it's just like a 1-for-1 type deal where maybe I add a second or I get back a second, it's those 10 players and that's it. So I don't know how more simply we can put it.
So we always talk about the 3 first rule when it comes to Jefferson and Chase, right? The 3 first worth of value. So is Shane, you would rather have Jamar Chase than the 101, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so is the 101 worth close to 3 first then?
Well, that's what I was going to say. If I have the 101 at a minimum, I need to split it into 2 firsts if I'm trading it just for picks. Obviously, one in early 2023 and then 2024. Would I prognosticate? Sure, I'll try that again. I tried that a few weeks ago. Might be a word by now, to be early. And I'd probably go, and you know what? Give me your 2025 as well, or give me 2 23s and 124, or 2 24s and 123. I don't know if we're going to get that, but that's what I'm going to ask for. Certainly what I'm going to ask for.
So if it's your first and you have the 101, your team likely is kind of trash canny, as Shane would say, right? And then we've got Bijan as the 101, but we never suggest, rebuilders take running backs. So talk me through that. I'm a rebuilding team. I have the 101. It's my first. I mean, I want Bijan, but he probably isn't the best thing for my roster construction. So what do I do in that case? Do I draft Bijan? Do I take him off the lot, or do I really keep an open mind, explore trading back, things like that? So leading the witness. What do you think, Shane?
You have to explore trading back, right? But the problem is if you trade back, so say the best you can do, and this is a real life scenario. So the best someone in your league will do would be like, I got the 106 and the 112. That's as best as you're going to get. To either take Bijan or get that. And you got to look at it and go, all right, well, I don't want a running back. It doesn't really fit my roster construction. It's not something that I ever really want to do, unless my team's about one piece away. But in that case, you might just have to take Bijan. We saw what Kenny Walker turned into this year, right? We saw what Travis Etienne turned into. We saw what Breece Hall turned into before he got injured. If someone doesn't want to pay that cost right then and there, they'll pay it in season when the hype season begins, when they start scoring points and they're like, oh crap, this guy really is the running back 1, running back 2, running back 3. So I'm fine with it being, if I'm forced to draft them, then I'm going to draft them rather than sell it what I'll consider a loss.
So I'm going to throw this up there to make my point, because I get this a lot. Trade Bijan for an elite quarterback. Kind of what I talked about earlier, right? With the certain players that you would trade it for. So I've noticed a lot of teams that have Bijan. We've talked about this on a couple streams in the past. A lot of teams that have Bijan or have him locked up, they have the 101 locked up. You look at their roster and you go, no quarterbacks, not a lot of talent. Like, they've pretty much tanked for the hopes that they have this window that's coming up for the next 3 months where they can try to sell him. But I think this is what's going to happen with a lot of these teams, because I look at some of these teams and I go, okay, great. Clay, you did the startup, you tanked, maybe you have an extra first, maybe you took like a Trevor Lawrence or something like that. But you don't have a team that's anywhere close to complete. A, it's not a complete roster. B, it doesn't have the right roster construction. C, you don't have enough assets. You were banking on this 101 being able to be split for 3 pieces.
Yep.
So that gets back to the 3 first rule. There's a lot of teams that have the 101 locked up that they should just be taking 3 firsts and not nitpicking, oh, well, is it the 102? Is it the 104? Is it an early 24 first? It's almost like you need to split that asset into 3 pieces. And I don't care if it's 3 firsts. It can be 2 firsts and a wide receiver 2 or something like that. Something where they could then go, I can split that asset into 2 more pieces. But I don't see a lot of those doing it. In fact, there are teams that are dug in even more on this 101. And I think part of it is the last time we had a 101 like this was 2018 when Barkley came in. And maybe you can argue Lawrence was kind of close, but the biggest thing was people were able to get those massive hauls in 2018 for Barkley to where it's like you could have built. Now, it doesn't mean you would have hit on all the players that you traded for with the picks that you got. But there was somebody coming to you with a package that could reboot your roster. I don't know if the current dynasty landscape is going to go there anymore. And I think that's the risk. And I think that's the risk if you have the 101. You can sit here and tell me, I'll just draft Bijan. I'll tell you this. You could have the best running back. You could have Breece Hall, and I could tell you he's going to score 18 points a game for the next 5 years. There would be teams in your league that still would not give you 3 firsts.
And that's
doesn't matter how good they are.
We literally just saw this with Ken Walker and Breece Hall, though. I literally could have gotten anything I wanted and did for those players.
I'm not talking about anything you wanted. I'm talking about someone comes to you with legitimately 3+ firsts. You were never getting that for Breece Hall. You're never getting that for Kenneth Walker. You're getting 2. I'm talking about
it. Take 2. Then you got to take 2. If that's what you can get, right? And your roster is so bad that Bijan's clearly not saving it. You got to split it, like we said there, and you got to just keep splitting those assets until you do have a decent enough team where drafting a running back in 6 years makes sense or whatever.
But I think that's the point, is that someone's going to say, I need 3 firsts until you put it on the block in your league, and the best you get is 2 firsts.
Where's the thing?
What do you do then?
So we got 2 firsts easy for Breece Hall plus. We've gotten 2 firsts for Ken Walker. Bijan Robinson is significantly better than anything Kenneth Walker's ever put on tape.
But that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. He's running back.
It will if he's scoring at 25 points a clip as opposed to 18 points a clip.
And that's part of the issue is I don't want to draft him, have him take the field, and then go, let's wait for that 25 points per game to start happening before I trade. Because you know what? I've probably just wasted next year as well towards my build. And then I've maybe gotten 24 firsts. Are you going to win in 20? Do you see my point? I'm not necessarily saying don't draft him if no one gives you a good enough offer. But I'm looking at teams that I see have the 101. I actually think it'll be an advantage given the current running back landscape to buy some Bijan. Right? Like everyone's going to fade running backs. Everyone's going to be scared of running backs. Man, if you hit on the next Alvin Kamara or better, that's actually probably good to buy him at the price that he's going to be going for. But I've already inquired on some teams where I have a ton of assets. I've inquired on the 101. And I'm not moving him. I'm not
Well,
moving
that's
now.
the problem. It'd be nice. Yes, it'd be nice to acquire the 101 from someone. If you could just go, well, here's 2 firsts. This is probably what's best for your shitty ass team. You need to make a smart decision. But unfortunately, they're going to go, well, no, I want Bijan, because some of fantasy is even when we want to be good at it, we go, it'd be really fun to have like 15 shares of Bijan.
Well, let me throw this offer to both of you. So I have a team that's in first place. Okay. It's pretty much stacked, except for obviously there's some holes at running back, right? That's how I typically build my teams. So I offer Drake London, the guaranteed 103, the guaranteed 104, and a 24 first for the 101 already guaranteed and CD Lamb.
Ooh, and
But
CD.
you just and CD, bro.
No, but this is Drake London, a 24 first.
CD Lamb throws that all out of whack. It's not even the same.
No,
it's remotely the same.
No,
so let's
CD
say
Lamb
Drake
for
21st.
Drake and a 24 first for CD Lamb, and you're getting the 103 and the 104. And it's not even that it's rejected, it's not even close. And I basically just told the guy, good luck getting a better offer.
Well, because it wasn't.
You
tried to sneak in CD Lamb. You tried to sneak in the wide receiver 4 in Dynasty.
But I really did. But that's the thing, is he's viewing that 101 as he needs the 103, the 104, and Drake London for the 101. And I'm sitting here looking at him going, I'm going to smash your team next year, probably in the next couple years. and all you have is the 101. So he doesn't just need a package. He needs other teams. The only way he gets that type of deal is if there's 2 other teams like me that are coming to him with that offer. And I know the league. I'm sitting here looking at the other people going, there is only 2 or 3 other teams in the whole league that even have what he would want. And those teams aren't putting that type of offer on the table. So where does he go for the deal? So that's the only conundrum that the 101 team has, is you're going to be limited by what somebody's willing to play ball with. What if it's just the team with the 103 and 104 and goes, that's the best I'm giving you? Then what do you do if you have a team, your best quarterback's Jared Goff, you don't have a QB2, you have maybe 2 or 3 good receivers, and you have the 101? What do you do?
103 and 104 is enough.
So Drake London and a 24 first for CD Lamb doesn't move the needle, but you would take the 103 and the 104 for the 101.
You can't just be throwing in CD Lamb like he's an insignificant piece.
No, I know,
all out of whack.
That
completely changes the entire complexity of that.
It does.
I might be willing to go, you know what, 103, whatever. No, complexity. That's what I said. Complexion.
Complexity.
If I'm looking at it and I go, all right, 103, 104, that's the best I can do. I need quarterbacks. I need at least 1 quarterback, and that's the best I can do. All right, guess what? We're riding, and we're going to.
Well, let me counter with this, Shane. Say 103 and 104 is the best you can do. I look at your team, and you have 1 quarterback, and you have a team. You have a team like this. I've seen some 101 teams where they are miles behind even being in the playoffs. I mean, they are so far behind. What if I come to you and I go, first of all, I'll give you the 103 and the 104. You go, I would consider that. Then I pull the offer and I say, no, I'm not going to do it. Because there's nobody else in the league that can offer you that, nor will offer you that.
Well,
so then what do you do?
Well, then I got to draft Bijan. I'm not trading him for a 1. I'm not taking the value loss of, all right, well, the best you can get is a 106 and a second rounder. Well, then blow me. Then I'll just hold on to Bijan. And it's as simple as that. And you know what? I'm going to just build around him. I'm good at trading. I'll get more assets. And then I'm going to make sure that I beat you next year, even if it's my only win.
I agree with that strategy, because that's what you're going to be forced to do. It's just an interesting thing if you've built one of these teams that's just so far behind and you have the 101.
Right. Yeah.
Like where is that line to where you are?
Asset,
exactly. It's tough.
You are screwed. You have to split that.
You should probably start shopping it right now just to see where your league stats are at.
Yep.
Okay. So if you're live in the audience here, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We got 179 people who already hit the like in this audience. If you're watching on replay, we're going to talk about Bijan Robinson, roster construction, and we're also going to be going through our subscribers' inbox trades, right? So they come in here and they're like, "Hey, I've got a deal in my inbox right now. Should I accept this or should I reject this?" So let's talk about this one. Inbox offer. Get Jalen Hurts and James Conner. Give Dak Prescott, Najee Harris, and a late first. making a playoff push, and have the 102. What do you think, boys?
Good with it.
I'm assuming it's super flex, but
Yep.
yeah, Hurts is a significant tier up from Dak. He's a couple tiers in front of Dak. Najee and Connor, whatever, that's a wash. Except one's got a famous name.
So Dak and a late first, that doesn't even cover Hurts for you, does it? No, it would have to be like at least a 105 2023 first plus Dak to get Hurts off you. Does that sound about right?
Unless it's start 11, 12, 13, yeah. And I got a feeling this isn't. Pellet Code Caddy, you can tell me if I'm wrong. In that situation, like if it start 12, then all right, that late first is going to mean more to me because I bet you I need a starter, and that's going to get me one, but not in a 9 or 10 start 9 or 10.
Yeah. I think the brilliance of that trade too is you got James Conner back, which is if he can hedge half the career that Najee Harris is going to give you just with spot production, like that's the key piece that I would be like, man, you got to take that trade because it's a low percent chance, but there's a chance that like James Conner can be as effective as long as Najee Harris,
that's what I was going to say. I mean, I think if you're trading for Najee here, you're hoping that Najee can give you a James Conner like production profile at any point.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I like that trade. I was about to say the same thing. The Conner piece was the best part of that, to be able to make it happen because you're giving up Najee, but you're making a push, and Conner can hopefully help. Okay, so let's go to Nicholas. Thank you very much for the super chat, man. 12 team half PPR start 10. 2 moves, Slayton and a 24-second for Ridley. What do we think about that one to start? You take Ridley there?
Yeah, I'll take Ridley, even in a half PPR.
Yeah, Shane loves himself some Calvin Ridley. I find this out on every roster review. I'm high on Calvin Ridley. I'm pretty sure we talked on the stream when Calvin Ridley got suspended that he was dead to Shane. But now Shane's coming back around.
He hasn't gambled in 7 months. He's got his addictions under control, or he passed his phone off to his kids.
Or he's just out of the spotlight and we have no clue what's going on with him. But yeah, I agree with that. That's a good move to get.
Okay. So we're going Ridley. We're going Ridley there. And Burks for a mid to late 23 first. Already have Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, Debo, Pickens, and Pittman. Are you spending a mid 23 first on Treylon Burks right now?
Well, looks like he's selling Treylon Burks there.
Yeah, it does.
Would be my guess.
That's
Can I trade Debo instead?
Yes, please.
But I mean, given his receiver room, I assume this is like 2 running backs, a tight end, like he can only start like 5 receivers probably. I'm okay with getting the flexibility of that first and essentially converting one of his receivers to potentially more flexible position.
Yeah. Would you pay a mid 23 first for Burks?
I probably prefer
some instances, or would you most likely lean the pick?
I'd prefer the pick. It gives me I think I can get another Burks in the draft, and I could also get a quarterback or a running back depending on where the pick is. So I'd prefer just the picks at this time.
Treylon Burks, since he's come back from injury, 20.8 target share. I don't know.
Going against Slay tomorrow?
They'll probably, I'm guessing Burks will get moved around a bit, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
I'd be more concerned about Henry versus the Eagles or running defense. That could get ugly.
We could throw up.
All right, but I think I'm
200 burger.
This is one of those leagues. It's going to depend on what assets I have. I wouldn't mind paying this for Burks, right? But if it's my only first, well, no, I'm not going to spend my only first on Burks when my wide receiver room looks like that. But like Scott said, I'm digging hard to sell Debo for a 23 first.
Yep. So thank you for that super chat, Nicholas. Looks like we have another one here. Okay. Part 2 roster construction. Was there a part 1?
Yeah, no, I just accidentally hit a show.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. So we're gonna go to the Royal Chief. Shane's on point tonight. That's cool.
I did hit the second point. There's a point after that.
Here's the super chat, and here's the question. Thank you very much. 14 team super flex, start 9, tight end premium, full PPR. Matt Ryan, Rams backfield, Drake London, Ayuk, Sky Moore, Elijah Moore, David Bell, Dubs have the 103, 104, 109. And the person with the 101 and 102 are taking running backs. What should I do? So 14 team super flex start 9.
Right, you're going to take.
You taking a QB1?
I mean, 14 teamer and a start 9. I think you could justify taking the top 2 quarterbacks. And I mean, it feels gross because now you're like, man, hopefully they hit. But I don't know. Can you trade one of them and get Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, something like that? I mean, it's probably tough, but can I add like Elijah Moore to one of those picks and get one of those guys instead? Because I'm okay doing that. But push comes to shove and it's like best player available. I think Shane would agree. It's probably the quarterbacks.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably leaning quarterback because it's super flex, but your team's not particularly good, so I am taking best player available. I mean, you got Drake in London, which I really like, but the fact that you're naming Ayuk, Sky Moore, let me give Ayuk a little more respect. The fact that you're naming Sky Moore, Elijah Moore, and David Bell and Dobbs lets me know that this roster is not particularly strong. So I might go just, you know what, I'm going quarterback. It's the 1 or 2, whichever one's there.
I mean, he named the Rams backfield, which is...
That's true. And he did say FPPR. That's not cool.
Well, there's some red flags here for you guys.
Well, just if I list your top 8 assets and you include Rams backfield...
Yeah.
So anyway, I think you probably got to check the trade market, but if someone forced you to pick, you're going to have a hard time in a 14-teamer clicking RB3 or wide receiver 1 over the quarterbacks.
Yeah, and if you needed to, you could tack on something to that 109 and get up there for the 105, make 3 in a row. Well,
especially if it's like truly like 2 quarterbacks that go in the top 5, and then the next one doesn't go till like 12, and then there's no others. Like I even wonder if it's true that the 101 and 102 are definitely taking running backs. They say that now until Bryce Young goes 101 and it's a great spot. And you're
That's
like,
what I was going to say. I can guarantee the 101 is going to be a running back, whether it's
102. He's saying that, but
come on, Jahmyr Gibbs is nice. He's not generational. There's no reason like I'm looking at Gibbs and going, oh no, I have to take him over Bryce Young or CJ Stroud when they're going to be top 6 picks in the NFL draft.
Put his feet to the fire. If he said that, try to go from that 104 to that 102 and just tell him, hey man, I need quarterbacks. Look, I have Matt Ryan, like I'm not going to take your running back, and see if he does it. Yeah. See if he's willing to do it for, you throw in Sky Moore and you move up 2 spots, do it.
So let's get into a little bit of roster construction stuff. So this was something in the community tab. We might have to add on some extra color to this, but 1 QB start 8, 10 bench spots. When constructing your roster, are you flooding your bench with running backs or keeping a good mix? Now, Scott, I know you just did a whole series on Destination Dynasty on roster construction. You went position by position. I don't know how you want to approach this. Do you want to just start with this exact format and talk about what the roster construction would be and then talk generally about roster construction? I'll let you pick the lane here.
Well, let's make it a little more broad to start. So just some rules of thumb. So as the rosters become shallower, so I'm not just talking the starting lineup, but also the total roster spots. There's a couple things that happen. So the first thing is you have to look at the number of starters relative to the number of roster spots. This is start 8, 20-man rosters. So you're talking about like 40% of your roster spots. So 10 bench spots. So you're talking 18-man rosters, I assume. That's actually pretty shallow, but it's actually pretty deep in terms of the starters. It's almost 50% of your starters make up your total roster. So what that tells me is the larger that percentage is, so literally take your number of starters divided by the number of roster spots, the smaller that percentage, the more valuable, like the positional advantages within the starting lineup are going to be. But the less valuable some of the back end bench spots are going to be, because you have let's say I have 8 divided by 28. So clearly the bottom end of your roster is essentially much closer to the value of the waiver wire. It's almost the same. Once you get past your top, I don't know. So this league, he's got 8 starters. Once he gets to roster spot 12, 13, 14, it flatlines so much to where the difference between the guys on waivers and the guys on your roster is almost zero. The only difference is, can I maybe find a sucker in my league to trade me something that I can color up or upgrade elsewhere that's more flexible. So you have to think about it that way. And I think the positional advantage thing is huge. We get a lot of questions that are start 8, start 9, start 10. And I think we don't even appreciate sometimes just how valuable it is to get the positional advantages in the spots where they're hard to get. So quarterback and superflex, tight ends in shallower leagues, the high end running backs, not just good running backs. I'm talking the running backs that hit the 20 plus point per game seasons. Those are hard to predict, but the impact that they have when they hit in a start 8 is massive. In a start 12, you almost look at it and go, I don't really care if my running back is scoring 22 points per game or 18 points per game because I have 11 other spots to make up that 4 points. So if you think about it that way, why would I want to carry the fragility of a guy like Austin Eckler over somebody like, say, I don't know, Miles Sanders? There's probably like a 7 or 8 point per game difference between the two, but it's a lot easier for me to fade that, especially if the market price on one running back to the other is 2x or twice as much. So in that type of format, you can really do these pivot downs. You can do these asset splits. You can do these deals where it's like, okay, I'm going to trade Austin Eckler for Miles Sanders and a first, with the goal being now I have a first to bank and I can go upgrade somewhere else. You may be able to buy that point per game difference and more somewhere else and not have it stuck in the fragility of the running back. So I think just some basic rules, like in this format that he mentions, start 8. I don't even necessarily care about the PPR, non-tight end premium, any of that. Give me the best quarterback I can get. Give me the best tight end that I can get. And give me like the best high-end receiver and or running back that I can get. And there's almost not too much of a price you can pay to get Austin Eckler, Travis Kelce, Josh Allen. Like, who cares if it's one QB, not tight end premium? The fact that you have a big advantage over most of your league at those spots is huge. So it's like the format doesn't even matter. You're just chasing advantages over every other team. And then you go, damn, if I have 2 or 3 of those advantages, who gives a shit who I start in the other 5? Give me replacement value. I can start random wide receiver 3. And the only way you beat my random wide receiver 3s is you better have a team that has 3 receivers that smash every single week. Otherwise, you're getting smashed at those other positions that are much more scarce. So that's how I'd look at it.
So, and Shane, I'll ask you this: if you're looking at this, these settings, 1 QB, start 8, 10 bench spots, how many quarterbacks do you have? How many wide receivers? How many running backs? How many tight ends?
So I'm assuming it's Dynasty. So I'm going to have 2 quarterbacks, since it's Dynasty trades, and 5. Probably, how many wide receivers are we starting?
Let's say we're starting 2.
2? Okay. So I probably have at most 5 wide receivers, and more likely 4, and 3 of them are high end. And if I can start up to 4, then I'll have at least 5 or 6 running backs. I'll probably have the rest of my roster will be that, and tight ends. I'll have 1 tight end if it's this shallow. I'm either going all in. I either already traded for Kyle Pitts, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, or Dallas Goedert or whatever, or I'm starting Tyler Conklin and just refuse. Now I know Scott was talking about the positional advantage at the tight end position in leagues like this. I'm much more apt to lean towards doing that at the quarterback and overpaying. And I think we've talked about it before in a league like this. I have no desire for depth. I don't care about depth. Depth doesn't matter to me. Like I said, I need 1 more wide receiver or maybe 2 just so I can play them on the weeks that the other guys have buys. Because I just want high-end wide receivers. I don't want a cast of 6 guys that I don't know which one to play.
Yep. All right. Good stuff there. And obviously we'll talk more and more about roster construction as we go through these trades too, because we always say, in the start 9, such and such. Hopefully that gives a little color behind that. Okay, let's go to an inbox trade here. We got a bunch from our subs here. Jamal. He's got one: trade the 109 to 112 in 2023 for a 24 first and an early 23 second and a 24 third in a rebuild. IDP 2 QB league, start 15 with another 11 starting IDPs. Okay.
Yeah, I would do it because those thirds actually in this type of format I'm in 3 IDP leagues, and a lot of they're all like this, where it's like 28 starters or more, and you got to start like a full defense. Actually, those picks are pretty valuable. Those early to mid thirds are pretty valuable in those leagues to kind of just like help fill out your roster with a little more flexibility. So I kind of like this because he's gambling that he's going to get a higher end pick, and he's still getting like 2 roster fillers. I'm assuming this is probably a league where he can roster like, I don't know, 40 plus players because it's start 26. So he probably has to build like at least double his starting lineup on his bench too. So those thirds are actually more like, depending on how the IDP scoring is, they're probably more valued closer to like mid seconds. Because some of the offensive players will fall there because people will take linebackers, defensive ends. I mean, to start 11, I assume you got to start, defensive ends, defensive tackle. Like it's positional value. So
Yeah.
I like it. I like the process of getting the extra bonus on top of just trading the late first for the future first.
But anytime you can trade what looks to be a late first for a future first, you should do that because look, you already we're at the point of the season where it's the 109, the 112. You have no idea what that 24 first is. Even if it is going to be good, there's no way to know that for like another 6 months. So the value on that is much, much higher than when I know it's the 111. That 2024 could be anything. It's the mystery box.
Well, rule of thumb, just to answer that, tag on to Shane's point, if you're ever making those trades, there's going to be periods of the offseason where you're looking to make those type of deals. You have a 110. The swing in the deal could be like we talked about earlier with the James Conner. I have a 110. I'm kind of looking at what this class could be. I don't really want to pick in that range if I have a shot of gambling on a bad manager's 24 first. Give me the 24 first for my 110. But the big swing in the trade could be you also throw in Raheem Mostert. Like that piece is it looks like very, very nondescript when the trade comes through and you see the deal. But you can tell somebody when they make a deal like that, instead of the 1-for-1, they get the 2-for-1. Maybe they get a third. Maybe they get some sort of filler running back. And it's probably a depressed asset that people will go, oh, this is just a throw in. But you're looking at it going like, okay, I've helped flipped my roster towards how I want it to be constructed. And if I get anything out of that extra asset, it's a bonus. But it's asking for I can spot a good manager when I see deals like that.
Yeah.
You're like, that's a savvy move to get that little piece thrown in because you have a plan with how it fits into your whole team.
So you're saying you like that I got Marlon Mack added to a 24 second for Dalton Schultz. That's what you're saying. I like it.
No, and it's funny because you see those players, like when those trades get through, like in the league chat, everybody's like clowning them. Oh, so was the kicker, Raheem Mostert in that trade, and then the person who got Mostert just like kind of staying quiet. It's like, yeah, I got you. You're the mark. Okay. So we got another super chat here. Thank you very much. It's an inbox trade as well. Superflex, start 10, PPR, half tight end premium. Have Lamar and T. That's it. Send 223 firsts, one early, one late, 223 seconds, one early, one late, 224 firsts, and Jahan Dotson. Get Josh Allen. So he's giving 223 firsts, one early, one late. He's giving 223 seconds, 224 firsts.
Yeah,
and Dotson.
So I'm just looking at how he's worded it. He literally said Lamar T. That's it. Then Jahan Dotson sounds like it's one of the more valuable trade assets that he has. No, I'm not going to do it. I love Josh Allen, but no, I got a feeling that this team is a dumpster fire. And Josh Allen and Lamar would be really fun with T. But it's not going to be really fun having absolutely no other players on your roster that are any good and hoping that you hit on third round picks. And then this time next year, you're looking to sell Lamar or Josh Allen for even anything approaching the type of package you sent, away for Josh Allen. So I'm going to have to say no on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those where if you have this team and or let's say you have a really good team and you can get a deal like this, I think there's an acceptable trade. It's a lot, but this goes down to if I have a stacked team, but I have a bunch of extra pieces laying around and I can get Josh Allen for this, it's a lot to stomach, but I can sit there and go, man, someone's willing to trade me Josh Allen. And all I got to do is throw in Jahan Dotson in a couple seconds. And that's, what I'm paying on top of the 4 first. Here, though, if that's all he's got, if you want to make a deal like this, I'm okay going to get another quarterback, but it's going to be Trevor Lawrence to it's the lesser tier from Josh Allen, and maybe I can do it for 40 to 50% of what I'm paying here, and then still build a semblance of a roster around him. Versus, great, you go to set your lineup and you go Lamar, Josh Allen, T. Higgins, and what else?
And
so it's just not it's the timing.
Yeah, if that's all you have, you don't want to give up your 24 first because you're trading away like, the 101 or 102 and 24 too. Also think about that. So just try to get a QB without trading your 24 first if you can help it. Right.
And there's something to be said about, we do have draft picks for a reason. We love to sit here and go, oh, draft picks are great when you can turn them into talent, right? But there are times where you go, all right, maybe I do try to build a majority of this team through the rookie draft, which means if I have an early first and it's not the 101, maybe this is the team you draft the quarterback, and you hope that Bryce Young becomes Tua, and like you just take the risk and you don't sit there and go, oh, let me pay the tax to get off of the risk. Because a lot of times we say that, but that's more for a team that is already rolling, and you want to continue the train by rolling and going, man, if I can lock in a guaranteed asset and pay a 10% tax, I'll do that. Because as long as I don't take a 100% asset and turn it into zero, I'm probably going to continue my like really good stretch of playing. So I think that it's just a spot where you probably make your picks.
Right. Like you'd rather spend one rookie pick on a quarterback for one that could just turn out to be average than two to overpay just to add to a roster that's not really that good and ready to compete.
Yep. Okay. So let's go to this is another thing from the community post. This was a question we had. Despite a slight shift recently, the NFL has overwhelmingly trended towards passing for several years. Is it more or less of a set necessity now to have an elite wide receiver to be a top contender in a PPR league? And there was one more blurb of color that I'll add there, but go ahead.
Well, it goes back to the question we got a couple minutes ago. Is this a start 8? Mm-hmm. Or is it a start 12? If it's a start 12,
let me just read this real quick. Extra context. This is Neil. I'm rebuilding and my roster is stacked with wide receiver 2s that I've happily collected, but that most of my league aren't interested in. I've got multiple early 23 firsts, including the 101, and should have solid depth everywhere else. If I don't have at least one more hammer at wide receiver, I'm thinking it's better to try and trade for one than pin everything on rookie draft picks when I have multiple early firsts.
Well, just to that last part, I mean, you'll hear me talk about that a lot of times on the roster reviews where I see 2 young wide receivers and I'd rather trade those than, again, add another young wide receiver to the mix that, look, we think we know what we're talking about, but, you draft Drake London, you draft Jahan Dotson, you draft Chris Olave. Chris Olave and Jahan Dotson were going in similar places last year, right? So I could have drafted either guy. And if I just drafted Jahan Dotson in those leagues, well, guess what? I missed out. It looks like Chris Olave's going to be the superstar out of that. I don't want to be in that position again every year where I'm drafting, trying to figure out, well, which wide receiver is it going to be? I'd much rather trade 2 of those young wide receivers, 2 of those rookie wide receivers for someone that I know is established. But that still didn't give us the answer to the question, like Scott was saying. We need to know if that's a start 12. It's great having a bunch of wide receiver 2s. That's awesome because you need to start a bunch of them. If it's a start 8, that serves me no good. That's no good to me for multiple reasons. One, the simplest being is I don't know which one to start every week, and I'm probably going to guess wrong because guess what? I'm not number 1 on Fantasy Pros and weekly rankings or whatever. And I'm guessing most of the people that watch this show aren't either. Because it's a hard thing to do. Like it's hard to determine like the guys that are similar tier with a similar matchup, which one's going to be the one that pops that week.
Then I can assure you a lot of the people that are ranking on Fantasy Pros have no clue how to build a dynasty team.
They know how to build an algorithm.
And they know how to play the site that they're playing on. They know how to rank, basically to rank in a certain spot on that contest. But back to the question, I think you have to look at especially when the off season gets here. And this is something that I've started doing already. You want to look for receivers that are good. That's the first thing. They have to hit a certain threshold, whatever that is in terms of what you're looking for. And you have to fit that to your league. It's totally different what the threshold would be in a start 8 versus a start 12. But when the offseason gets here and we see so much movement at quarterback and we see so much movement with offensive coaches and coordinators and all that stuff, I want to buy good wide receivers. We've seen receivers where we think they're set up to smash and look at all their metrics and they look great. Then they get stuck in shitty situations for 3 years. And then people start going, oh, that guy's not that good. No, it's not that he's not that good. He's not scoring a lot of fantasy points, which makes you say he's not good.
Yeah.
We've seen other receivers that are the same thing. All of a sudden they get flipped they get into a really good situation and you go, damn, that guy was always good. He just needed to be in a really good situation. So I think we get caught up a little bit in the names and we go, man, T. Higgins is awesome. He's in a great situation. Until next year, what if he wasn't?
Mhm.
Is he a guy you're still willing to go and take Drake London in a first to go get T. Higgins? You might do it now, but in a year from now, you go, I wish I wouldn't have done that, simply because they're both probably really good players. So you're really just paying the tax for the situation. So just be careful of that. Know your format. It sounds like the person that asked the question is in a league where he has enough of these. He's probably got a roster of DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson. He's like,
Sutton.
Shane,
Yeah,
I'll tell you, these guys are all good receivers. And he's probably going, well, shit, I can only start 3 and I have 7 of them. What the hell do I do? And I'm trying to add 3 of them to go by Justin Jefferson. And the person's going, oh, I'm not going to do that. Well, of course. And that's where you've probably got to be a little more creative for your format. But we got to know that context before we can say for sure.
Yep. Well, I'm sure that still helped. Let's go to Connor here. Thank you very much for the super chat, man. 12 team Superflex PPR 1.5 tight end premium start 11. Last place. This is an orphan he picked up. 2 to 3 years from competing. Only assets are Pitts, Olave, Mack, Bateman. And then in terms of his 23 first, he's got projected 101, 105, 108, 110, 112. What move should I be looking to make? Thanks in advance. Okay, so in terms of quarterbacks, he's got Mac Jones. Okay, he's 2 to 3 years away from competing. Is another important part. And then start 11.
Let's take that list of assets. Let's get Mac Jones off of there because he is not an asset. He's a functional quarterback in a start 11. He's not good. He's below Derek Carr. He's okay, but he's definitely not a guy that belongs in a list with Olave and Pitts.
Well, he had to point out that he has a quarterback in a super flex.
Yeah, he does own a quarterback. Yes. I'd probably it sounds like when he says only assets, I'd be looking to split Olave and I'd be looking to split Pitts if I could, a couple more picks. And I got to be honest with you, if anyone wants to give me a first Mac Jones is not greater than Kirk Cousins. Stop it, Greg. If anyone wants to give me a first for Mac Jones, like if you're in a league with Scott, for whatever reason that likes Mac Jones, it's because of, I don't know, it's a blind spot. He's perfect everywhere else. For some reason he thinks Mac Jones is okay. Then I'll trade Mac Jones for a first too.
This isn't going to be a Mac Jones show, but anyway, we just did a Mac Jones show. We just talked about Mac Jones a little bit ago. This is the perfect team where, first of all, 2 to 3 years from competing, don't agree. If you're 2 to 3 competing, unless you literally have absolutely nothing, you're underestimating just how much changes over a couple years and how much variance there is. And so with this, he just listed 4 assets and then 5 first-round picks. Now it's a start 11. I think we would all agree he doesn't have enough assets here to contend. But this is the perfect team where if you could just take Kyle Pitts and split that into pick your favorite tight end inside the top 8, but not as valuable as Pitts. If you could get one of those tight ends and a first for Kyle Pitts,
Freiermuth and a 24 first.
Sure, you get Pat Freiermuth and a first for Kyle Pitts. Do it. And again, it's not that we don't want Kyle Pitts, but in this specific situation, it makes sense to split an asset in that spot. Second, if he could turn in that 101 into 3 firsts, maybe he gets another receiver and 2 firsts. Right there, I would almost say if that team makes some creative other trades with the other picks, could possibly contend in a year. It's not 2 to 3 years. Now, the other step would be he probably has a quarterback problem. I think we agree with that. So the other thing you could do is try to move the 101 in a deal for a quarterback. But let's just say he didn't. Let's say he got the 3 first for the 101. Maybe he got another 23, an asset worth a first and a 24. And then he got Freiermuth and a 24 first for Pitts. Right there, he's got enough assets to at least set a good starting lineup. The depth, a lot of the depth you can get off the waiver wire in strategic trades. Like, it's not that hard to build depth like Shane talked about earlier. So I think he's closer than you think, but you got to do the right thing with the assets. You can't look at this and go, I'm 3 years out. I'm just going to draft the best player available at every one of those picks. I'm not going to explore trades. And I think we get a little too arrogant sometimes when we get on the clock and we go, man, I cannot trade that 105. It's going to be the wide receiver 1. He's so good, I can't trade it.
Yeah.
When really, if you have a great team, you can be that arrogant. You can pick your player. In this situation, you always have to be looking at splitting the assets where you can do it. That's a roster review team right there.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Send it over, Connor.
Hold on, I'm blocking that user. The sex commenter said was blocked. It's funny because I could have put the person in timeout. I didn't realize that was a setting.
It's not a real human now.
It's called a robot.
I don't think a
sex robot in our chat.
I know.
Sex robot. Who would even think of it?
McGutty said, "Stop it." Okay, let's go to another question here. You see, the bot got us. The bot threw us off of our game. Joe's going to put us back on our game here. Inbox trade, 12 team, 1 QB, half PPR, start 8, no tight end premium. Gotten lucky and locked up a buy a year earlier than I thought. Congratulations. Do I give 3 mid 23 firsts, DK and Ramondre Stevenson, get Tyreek, Kelsey, Mixon, and Jonathan Taylor? Oh,
accept it as fast as possible for the fact that you're getting potentially 3 positional advantage players in a start 8. My goodness.
Yeah.
You locked up a buy. You can kind of lock up a championship.
He already has a buy, and he's getting Kelsey, Tyreek, and Jonathan Taylor. And I do happy to get Joe Mixon thrown in.
I do wonder who he's sitting. Obviously, there's no one in the same realm as Kelsey. I wonder who he's going to be sitting for JT and who he's going to be sitting for Tyreek.
Maybe Pierce or somebody like that.
I can't imagine it's like he's going to be in a position where he's like, oh, now I have to sit. Well, obviously he's Ramondre and DK. Yeah, no, dude, you got to take this. If anything, I'd ask him to keep mixing and just let me hold on to DK. But yeah, no, I'm fine with this.
Yeah, man, that's a big boy trade. That'll get the
look. Your team's old all of a sudden, but it doesn't matter because if you win, your league dues are paid for the next 5 years or whatever. I forget what the math works out to.
Yeah, let's not go to you for math. Okay, let's
80% of the roster, 30% of the roster is better than 80% of your roster 100% of the time.
Oh, I'm about to drop a reel on that. Yeah, Liam did an awesome job making that reel. It's pretty hilarious. Okay, let's put this up here. We had a couple of questions already on Dynasty startups. I love it. We got some addicts in the comments in our subscriber list. Best Dynasty startup settings in y'all's opinion. Let's talk briefly on Dynasty startup strategy.
All right, so I'll just go with simple settings that I particularly enjoy, not to hate on anyone's other settings. Superflex, start 11, at least some type of tight end premium, preferably like 1.75. Some PPC, probably about 0.020. Obviously PPR. I'd like tiered scoring at the positions, but I know that's getting a little funky. So at least give some scoring for first downs too, because I like when things that happen on the football field that matter actually matter. Don't give any stupid bonuses for 50-yard plus touchdowns, anything like that, because then it turns into a video game. So yeah, just simple, super flex. Oh, and I'm sorry, I'm old school this way. I want every league I'm in to force you to start 2 running backs. I want you to have to think. I even enjoy sometimes when you put people in enough pain and you go, we're starting 3 running backs, you sons of bitches. Yeah, but at least 2. It's got to be at least 2. Don't give me any of that. Hey, you get to start 1 of 8 at any roster position, because that's just stupid. That shows no creativity, and that's just like anyone can do that. That's like paint by numbers. So just simple, super flex, 11
and minimum of 12 teams, if you ask me.
Yeah. If
you're starting now, like that's a big thing. Like, start up properly, have at least 12, make it super flex, and have a good amount of starters. At least start 10, but yeah, like Shane said, start 11 is a good number too.
Yeah, I think Shane's best point was that you got to start the 2 running backs. I've started to see. I mean, listen, you pick the leagues that you want, but I've seen people that are now going to I don't want to have to start 2 running backs. They're too hard to get. They get injured too much. The next thing is let's not start any tight ends because they're so bad. Like we don't want to have to start a tight end. So just make it a flex. I mean, at what point are we trying to make it easy to where I think there are people that just want dynasty leagues where they just go get the players they want. They look at who scores the most points and go, let me just do that. But I'll tell you from experience, when you're in these leagues, what happens is that seems fun at the beginning. Dude, I can build a whole team of flexes. I don't need any receivers. I can draft all tight ends, all running backs, all receivers. I'm in a couple leagues where you don't have to start quarterbacks. That's fine, but then you get to a point where it's like, okay, nobody wants quarterbacks because if they can't have the really good ones, they don't want them because they don't have to start them. It's the same thing with these other leagues. Like, if you only have to start one running back, guess what? No one really wants running backs because why would you want to buy a running back if you don't need them in that format? So I think you have to create a good level of scarcity. Don't go overboard. I'll just say this. We're doing a lot of leagues over at Destination Devy that are going to be a really cool auction style. So I know it's not Dynasty Trades in 5, but hit me up if you want to get in one of those. I'm going to be a lot heavier into Best Ball Dynasty next year. Not that I don't like lineup, but I think Best Ball is another challenge for me, and I want to kind of start diving into that more. So it's just another thing, focusing on roster building and stuff like that. So I'm not necessarily as like it has to be this way. I like a format where I can dissect it and try to figure out where the positional values are, where the strategy is, and just go from there. That's the funnest part of a new starter.
And that's why a 1 through 8 start as many as you want is just stupid, and it's for children. And if you're in any of those leagues, I apologize. Look, I definitely joined a couple of those, and I thought it was going to be awesome, like Scott said. And then after like 6 weeks of it, I was like, this is goddamn terrible. Like I might as well just play best ball. I enjoy the roster construction. I enjoy, it gives you a chance to zag when other people are zigging. It gives you a chance to build rosters differently. But when everyone's, it's just better. And I got it. My new favorite thing is, and I'm trying to make this a thing, 3-round rookie drafts. That's it. Let's make the waiver wire mean something again.
Yep. I like it because it's just a bunch of trash. You don't even know.
And we just keep adding rounds to it.
Yeah.
In my day, 7 years ago when I started, it was 3 rounds and then 4 rounds, and that's what all it was. And then out of nowhere, the last couple of years, people are like, you know what we need? A 5th and a 6th round. I'm like, dude, why do we even have a waiver wire then? Like, what's the point?
Yeah. Okay, so we got 230 people in here right now. Thanks so much for joining. We're 52 minutes in. If you wouldn't mind taking a look down, hitting that like if you haven't already, if you're enjoying this content, we'd appreciate it. Helps out the channel, helps out the algorithm. We got Eric here saying hello from sunny Scotland. Very cool. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, mate.
We've got nailed it. We've got correct country and everything. We've got subs from all over the place, and it's very cool. Being able to see the different accents and stuff, even in the emails and all. And they apologize for bad English. It's like, Shane does too.
Yeah, have you heard Shane speak? It's not good.
Have you heard Shane speak? Appreciate everybody on here. Let's get right into another super chat though. This is from Jake H. 10 team, half PPR, start 10, super flex, made 2 big deadline deals to try and get long-term elite options / make a playoff run. Devonta Smith plus a mid to late 23 first for C.
I think Clay is frozen, so I'm going to finish this question.
Yeah, we got a frozen Clay. Wow.
Yeah, I had this back. I had quite a face on here. Okay, just in case I freeze again, let's see. 2 big deadline deals, try to make the playoffs. Devonta Smith plus a mid to late 23 first. Is it 4 CeeDee Lamb and Dak and Debo? How's this work?
Featuring Lamar.
Can't read it.
No, I think it's the 23 first and Devonta Smith for Lamb, and then Debo and Dak for Lamar.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Third.
So let's start with that. Devonta Smith and a mid to late 23 first for CeeDee Lamb. Which side would
10 teams start 10? I'm okay with it. Yep.
I'll take CeeDee there. And then Debo and Dak for Lamar and a third.
I want Lamar.
Yeah, I like that. He essentially in a shallow league, he went for 2 upgrades. It's a little risky, but that's why you collect extra assets to try to do those 2 for 1. So I like both deals.
Yeah, you got the best player in both deals. That's you can take a step back and look at it that way and be like, you got the better assets now. So no, not an overpay. Not an overpay at all. Now they just have to score some points on your roster and you'll be in good shape. Thank you very much again for that super chat, Jake. Hopefully you enjoyed the frozen face there. My computer is freaking slow, man. This thing needs to tighten up. Let's get its act together. We're only 54 minutes in.
Threaten it. That's what I found works. I threaten things.
Yeah, this computer's smarter than I am, though. I'll threaten it and it'll be like, oh yeah, here comes those freaking porn spam bots coming back.
Does it know that it's getting replaced?
Oh yeah.
Yes, it must.
It has to. We talked about it on the stream before the stream, so it definitely knows, and it's probably going to set Clay on fire at some point.
It's all right. The Porch Pirates will get it. Okay, let's go to another one here. This is from Shay. Thoughts on Amon-Ra St. Brown versus JMO long term? Will they eat into each other's production or be a light version of Chase, Higgins, Hill, Waddle? The Amon-Ra St. Brown owner is hoping this production / target share continues.
So, I mean, all of us are big on this, and so is what's that called? Facts. When wide receivers command target shares, high target shares, that means they're good, regardless of what you do and add or whoever you add next to them, right? So I tried to shade Amon-Ra St. Brown last year. Because why? Because TJ Hockenson was hurt. DeAndre Swift was hurt. Their next best wide receiver was like Josh Reynolds something, right? So what happened this year? Amon-Ra St. Brown forced them to trade TJ Hockenson. He pretty much told them, like, he bothers me. You get rid of him. And he made DeAndre Swift a useless piece of furniture. Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown is he's an elite target hog. And him and Jameson don't play the same type of game. So there's more than enough. There's more than enough targets in that offense to go around. I have no concerns whatsoever about Amon-Ra St. Brown's production being affected in any way by JMO.
Yeah, I'm going to just give a real quick list. So Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins. Those are the only receivers that demand a higher target share than Amon-Ra St. Brown. He leads the league in targets per route run. So basically, he's not even running as many routes as those guys. He's getting targeted at the highest clip in the NFL. And then his yards per route run is third in the league. It's like, this is going to be a hot take. He's better than like Jalen Waddle. He's in that same range, but we just can't quite accept it because one was like a top 10 pick and one was a 4th round pick. And we just have a hard time consolidating that and putting him in the same tier. But he's a top 10 dynasty receiver. I don't care who they put around him. Once you do what he did at the end of last year and then do what he's doing this year, will he take a small step back? Maybe, because that's just variance from year to year. But to sit here and go, oh yeah, he's not that good, let's fade him, especially because of Jameson Williams' profile, which I think it's good, but it's not as good as even like Amon-Ra St. Brown's profile was. So it's really just the draft capital and the fact that they're on the same team. So if anything, I think Jameson Williams probably helps him a little bit. Just makes the offense more efficient. It makes the drives more sustainable. So yeah, it's easily Amon-Ra. If you can get him on rosters, that's probably one of the biggest receivers that I want to buy, especially after JMO comes back, because I think there's going to be some people that are willing to sell high.
Would you give the 102 for Amon-Ra St. Brown right now?
You know what? If you're in the 102, 103, 104 range, the hardest part with the 102 is you're kind of fading the chance to monopolize the quarterback part. But that's it. If it's 104, I would do it. Easy. 103 is right on the fringe because you're still in that same, I'm guaranteeing myself QB1, wide receiver, or QB2, running back 2, wide receiver 1. Hard to give that up, but I'm okay doing it.
Yeah, I have trouble spending the 102 on Amon-Ra St. Brown. We get to the 103, 104. I definitely start thinking a lot harder about it.
Yeah, definitely want to get some more Amon-Ra. I'm talking to this one guy in the league, Dak on my side, and Amon-Ra. He's got Amon-Ra, and we're trying to figure out what it would take to make it happen. I've got Dak and Lamar and Fields in that league, so I've got some flexibility.
So send him Fields for Amon-Ra. What other quarterback does he have on his team, sir?
Yeah, trash cans, total trash cans.
Trash cans. Okay,
Yeah, he's got
all right.
Goffy poo and other.
I'll tell you
poo.
what. Good segue here. Send a roster review to request to dynastytradesin5@gmail.com. Remember, it's not free, Clay. Not even for you. I don't care if it just happens to be your show or whatever. Me
It's
and
not
Scott,
my show. It's our show.
We'll do a show. You'll disappear, and then we'll get that trade done for you.
Exactly, and that's a question that we got. Do we do roster reviews? Oh yes, they do. Shane and Scott do. They did a couple today before the stream. I disappear. Your roster would go up in between them, and they spend a good amount of time breaking it down top to bottom, really dissecting your roster. Like Shane said, you can. I guess let me throw this back. I always struggle on this throwing back and forth here. You can send inquiries to dynastytradesin5@gmail.com. You could also Twitter DM me at tradesin5. I will apologize ahead of time. We get a lot of inquiries and a lot of responses go unresponded to. There's a Shane word for you for a good day or two. Sometimes I see it. I've got the timestamp that you're interested. I will get back to you. I promise. Sundays especially are tough to get responses back from me because I'm trying to hide in corners for my kids and wife. If I'm being perfectly honest there,
and we may or may
hit us
not
up.
do a roster review of one of Clay's teams and make that a video to drop.
Yes, we are going to do that soon. I need help. I need help big time on one team I've got in my mind.
Apparently in this league, so send that one over to me. Clay, you know what? I like you. I'm going to give you a discount.
Oh, you are.
It's not going to be any cheaper. I'll go send you a coupon to like Dunkin' Donuts or something.
To like Dunkin' Donuts, where I spend my roster review money. Okay. All right, let's move on here. We need to do a promotion of sorts to get a free roster review. I'll think of something, and then we'll announce it before we get off this live stream. Okay.
Tonight?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe we encourage people to hang out with us longer, right? Clickbait. Okay, let's go to this one right here. Another inbox trade from one of our friends in the audience, Lufty08. Inbox trade, need help. 10-team Superflex, start 9, PPR. Send Kenny Pickett, a late 23 second, get a 24 first and a 23 fourth. I'm second to last in max points for, and if I dump Pickett, I have a really good shot at getting the 101.
Done. First of all, you're trading a quarterback that's May. And two, you're getting intrinsic value back by moving up your pick from, I assume, the 102 to the 101. Like you'd almost trade Kenny Pickett in the 102 to get the 101. In fact, you would in a 10-team start 9. So yeah, this is a smash because you're also getting 24 first.
Yeah, do it. Do it now.
The Pickett versus Mac Jones conversation on our last show is fantastic. It was great. It was great.
Who knew those two would get us fired up, right?
Well, look, it's the weird things, right? We all have our weird kinks where you hear about it and you go, really, that? And you're like, Kenny Pickett. I don't know where it came. Maybe it's the small hands. I don't know.
And someone in our comments, I think it was Darren or something, was like the Kirk Cousins, yeah, like that sound effect that I put in with Kirk Cousins when he pops up. Oh man, I sadly make myself laugh when I'm editing that in, but it's too funny. Kirk Cousins, yeah. All right, let's move this. Okay. Oh, here was another little part of his. It sounds like we may not even need to talk about this, but current QBs are Lamar and Lance. Digging a hole at QB, try to get Bijan. Yeah, still do it either way, regardless of what you have. Okay, let's move on to another one. I'm sure we have here's our boy Timo, best Dynasty show on YouTube. Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
We do.
Very much so. Oh, and look, he's got a comment here. Say nice things, you get your comment answered, right? Mm-hmm. I have a lot of 23 picks, the 101, the 103, and 4 early to mid seconds. The owner of the 104 is interested in trading back for some seconds. How many should I offer, and where should I draw the line?
He can have all 4 mid seconds for the 104.
Would you start by maybe like 3 of the seconds and then a 24 second?
Well, the fact that this dude's willing to trade back for seconds, I'll start with 2.
True.
Yeah, I'll start with 2, and then I'll also add like you want Wan'Dale Robinson? I got Wan'Dale Robinson. How about Kadarius Toney? You like Kadarius Toney? Looked really good in that one game. I don't want to say I'm trying to snow the other owner, but the other owner's manager is insufficiently intelligent, so I would try to take advantage of that.
That was a long way of saying the other manager's an idiot,
a
and I'm going to
dumbass.
try to get his 104. Listen, this is one of those where you have to do a little calculation in terms of how much are those firsts and seconds worth relative to each other. I mean, I'm in a league where it's a 14 teams start 15. So in that league, you could see somebody go, hey, I'm going to trade the 104
seconds.
for the 202, the 208, the 210, the 2, like it wouldn't be a crazy trade to make.
Right.
But this is probably not that. In fact, this is probably one where you go, wow, like someone's actually willing to give you one piece for 4.
Yeah.
Like just do it and don't even think. Let him make those picks and then just smile. Don't even say anything. Just smile in the chat next summer when he's going, hey, I got a bunch of depth. Anybody want to like trade me? I'm looking to package these 3 players for a starter. And you're just looking at it going, yep, didn't see it when you made that trade with me and you did a 1 for 4.
Yep. Joe, thank you for the super chat. 12 team super flex, start 10, traded the 102, 103, and Tua for the 101, a mid 23 first, a late 23 first, a 201, and a 23 second. QBs are Watson, Daniel Jones, Jimmy G, and he's got 623 first. So he gave up 102, 103, and Tua and got the 101, a mid 23 first, a late 23 first, 201. Yeah, right. I mean,
I think asset wise, he did okay.
He did okay.
But I could also see the team with the 101 that doesn't have anything except for picks going, okay, I need to build a team eventually, right? Like
so
this would actually
move back a little bit.
The team selling the 101 here is probably like, man, I don't want to give up that mid first. I don't want to give up that late first. I don't want to give up those seconds. But damn, I could build 3 core pieces with 2 of the 102 and the 103.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually, I like what he did because he already has some assets. I don't know if I would have wanted to go into next year just going with Watson, Daniel Jones, and Jimmy G. But I get it. He's getting the 101. Maybe he can turn, who knows? He might be able to turn the 101 in the mid first into, Jalen Hurts. And then he's laughing at the other guy that could have had Jalen Hurts for less than what he paid for the package.
I like Jalen Hurts. Get Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Was that helpful?
Oh, yeah. Well, for sure. We'll have you go first next time.
All right.
Okay. Fly Bladder. Thank you for the super chat, sir. I'm guessing this is a dude.
I'm just picturing a fly bladder, man. That's got to be brutal. You probably got to piss every like 15 minutes.
Okay. Part 1, 12 team superflex, start 10, half PPR, tight end premium. Dak, T-Law, Pitts, Olave, Garrett Wilson, Pickens, Judy, Bateman, Nico, Peoples-Jones, yada, yada, yada.
Tupac.
No running backs. Early and late first in 23 and 224 first. Go into draft after best player available and naturally building the RB room. How do you guys build the wide receiver room? Trying to get my roster construction in place before anyone else in the league. First year.
Can you go back to those the first part of that? I just want to look at that. So we've got Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Pickens. We've already started to build out our wide receiver room in a what's the word I'm looking for? An elite way. I don't care about Judy or Bateman. I'd love to trade those 2 and get another wide receiver in the tier of Olave, Garrett Wilson, or Pickens. Probably Pickens is probably the best you could do. And then back to the other thing, please. It's got Dak and T-Law and Pitts. Organically, yeah, I'm just drafting running backs probably in the second round. I will spend, one place I will spend capital, or at least I'll spend the pick on a running back is rookie drafts, or at least that's the one place I'll spend up for him is in the rookie draft. I have no problem with using one singular pick on a running back. That doesn't hurt me like it does, to say trading 2 picks for an established running back. So that's always BPA to me. Even if the best player available is a wide receiver, though, and my team is wide receiver heavy, I still rather draft the best player that's on the board rather than reaching for a weaker player. I'd never draft for need, unless, again, it's like an even split. Like if it's CJ Stroud versus Bryce Gibbs, sure, Jahmyr Gibbs, and I need a quarterback, I'm going Stroud. You know what I mean? That'll be the what I need in that specific instance is what would be the determining factor.
Here, I'm gonna Scott, you go ahead and answer this too. I'm going to bow out just for a second. I gotta put my kid back down, so I'm gonna skedaddle and put you guys on the screen. I'll be right back.
So fly bladder. Go back and listen to the Destination Dynasty roster construction series that I did because it literally touches on this specific format. The 12 team start 10. It's full PPR, but half PPR, really all it does is just lean your roster construction to be maybe one or two more running backs heavy. And I think you're pretty much about 70, 80% of the way there. The good part is you already have your two quarterbacks. So you probably just need a third quarterback that is useful, top 15, top 18-ish. I'm okay paying for that. The way that the quarterback carousel is going to work this offseason, I'm actually okay going into the offseason if I can get, like, say you could get Kirk Cousins as your third quarterback here. I'm fine with it. Because I've actually kind of starved out a couple other teams that are going to be desperate. So maybe you don't do that because you have the draft picks. I'm not scared to draft a quarterback. I think I'm a little less rigid on the receivers than Shane. I'm looking at this as a whole wide receiver room. And I would still count Judy, Bateman, and then maybe one of Nico Collins or Donovan Peoples-Jones, probably Donovan Peoples-Jones, as part of my like threshold of receivers. So I probably want 8 or 9 of them, but I'm okay counting those guys. Sure, those are like the guys in the reroll category. If I could get a first for either one, you would obviously do it. But if I can't, I don't necessarily want to just sell them to get them off my team. They have a purpose. They have a spot within your wide receiver room. So you're actually pretty close to being there. Like you have Olave, you have Wilson, you have Pickens, you have those two guys. You need a couple more receivers. But the beauty is you already have two quarterbacks. You already have a tight end. You don't have to be chasing the positional advantages that we would go, oh man, now you got to find creative ways to get a quarterback. You got to find creative ways to get a tight end. So I think you're there. I mean, and you have the first, and then you have the 2 firsts in 24. I think you can kind of just go best player available. You're pretty well accelerated into having the right roster construction. So I'm a little less worried about who you draft versus as long as you have a plan with your construction. So that's how I'd answer it. That's a good question. I think that series will really help you in terms of exactly what I would do. I literally lay it out based on this format. Anything else to add, Shane? You're muted, rookie.
Clay muted me before he left. I think
No,
that was
he
pretty rude.
didn't.
That was pretty rude.
Clay didn't mute you.
most times you can't go wrong if you're just going, I'm taking the better player. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's circumstances where that's not always the best move, but it's rare.
Yep. You want to hit a couple others?
Yeah, I'm going to knock some of these out because we got a lot in here.
Yeah, knock them out. Rapid fire.
Real quick, Connor noted, if you're poor like me, at least hit the goddamn like button. I'm assuming that's what the GD is. Thank you, brother.
And I got to give him credit. Spells his last name correctly. Shout out Connor, Connor. Love it.
Appreciate you. Real quick, Hurricane Lane. Thanks for the live stream, guys. Shout out to Destination Devi for giving Scott a platform to ramble for 2 more times a week. Yes. Scott likes to talk. He's good at it.
Hi, Clay.
Hello, guys.
Boss is back.
Shane's trying to set it back up. Boom. There we go.
There we go. Okay, I am back.
I got a question. All right. 12 teams, start 9. Superflex, contender. Give Njoku and DK, get Kelsey. An elite tight end should win me the league. Well, let's not be certain about that. Think I've convinced the guy to make the trade. Yeah, I'd make that trade.
You answered your own question with the second sentence. There you go.
Yeah, that's a great deal if you can get it done. I hope you can. Check back in on them and see if you need to send them a third or something just to grease those skids.
Yeah, and maybe trade again with that person because values might be a little bit off. Okay, so let's move on here. Looks like you got the fly bladder one. Oh, D-star that one. Mike, thank you for the super chat. Okay, so you're set at wide receiver, tight ends, and quarterback in a 12-team Superflex start 9. Are you hammering running backs and hoping they hit, are still getting safe positions to trade later?
It's an interesting question because he's essentially at the end of his roster construction forming. So he's basically at a point where you can always be going best asset available, but just keep an eye on your construction. That's it. Like I even mentioned, I have an episode coming out on Monday that talks about this. Like what happens if I already have the right roster construction and now I have a bunch of extra picks and I have a bunch of extra wide receivers, or I draft a couple receivers and all of a sudden I have too many. What do I do? Like you're always kind of trying to get back to that homeostasis spot. But it sounds like he's pretty much already there at wide receiver, tight end, and quarterback, which means the running backs are always going to be the most variable from year to year. So I think he's exactly on the right spot. Like you're trying to just take running backs. You're trying to constantly be upgrading within your running backs. But if you ever find yourself and you go, man, I got a lot of receivers here. Where can I find the right spot to sell, I don't know, one of my receivers for a future first? And you have the leverage to kind of pick your spot. You can go to the right manager and be like, hey, I probably value a guy like Marquise Brown at a first. I don't want to trade him in a lot of circumstances, but he's my wide receiver 6 on a team, and I have 10 receivers that I'm comfortable with. I'm going to go to the team where I'm like, hey, you know what? I don't know if that guy's going to be that good after 23. So let me go get his 24 first. I'll take the short-term loss. But really, it's a strategy as to why you're making that deal with that manager. So I think Mike's probably almost to that spot now.
So in this in these settings, so 12-team Superflex start 9. Let's just guess how many bench spots there are. What's a typical that you see in a 12-team start 9? Let's just throw a number out there.
25 to 30,
25,
somewhere in that range.
Okay. Yeah. Let's say it's 25. So you're starting 9, right? How many wide receivers are you going to want to have on that team?
7 to 8.
Okay. How many running backs are you going to want to have?
Well, I'd probably go 3 quarterbacks, 2 to 3 tight ends, 7 to 8 receivers, and the rest running backs. Whatever that calculates out to be, like 12, 13, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, because that's always the question. It's like we say get hammers, right, in these shallow formats, start 9, start 8. But how much like depth do you need? We always say consolidate the depth to get hammers, but how much depth do you really need?
I mean, you want enough that, like, if there's 1 injury, obviously you can stick someone in. There's 2 injuries, you can survive it. 3 injuries, all right, well, and shit's out of hand, you're probably out of luck. But even then, you're going to find depth on the waiver wire. You're going to find depth where you didn't expect to find depth. You know what I mean? Yeah. It happens every year. I'm not saying it's like, hey, it's definitely going to happen, but it always does. And again, when you trade, you make those small moves for, like, you know, Scott, we were all talking earlier, like, hey, I got a Marlon Mack thrown in. I got a Deontay Foreman thrown in. You know what I mean? If you've gotten Deontay Foreman thrown into a trade at the beginning of last year, everybody would have looked at you like, well, what good was that? And you're like, I don't know. He just gave me multiple top 12 weeks over the next 2 years because you're a fortune teller, and you could tell that when you made that trade. But, you know, just stuff like that.
I want to add one point to that because I actually made a mistake on a team this year similar to that. It's a 14 team, but it's a start 9. My roster construction was perfect, except the one mistake that I made is I never was able to get a high enough end running back 1. So I have this perfect roster where I have my 3 top 12 tight or quarterbacks, which in a 14 team is awesome. I'm never hurting at quarterback. I have 3 tight ends that I can kind of platoon. I have my core of receivers. Then I have all these running backs. Like, my roster construction is exactly what I would preach. But the only downfall was in a start 9, I already have my 4 receivers locked in, my tight end, and my 2 quarterbacks, right? So every week, ideally, I'm starting 2 running backs. The problem was I never was getting ahead of the game and upgrading at my RB1. So I'm sitting here with a roster every week. I'm picking between Elijah Mitchell, Damian Harris, Antonio Gibson, Jeff Wilson. You know, I have like 8 of these guys that are in that tier, but I can only start 2. So that's the only danger is in a start 9. Yeah, it's great to have that roster construction, except for when you get stuck and it's like, man, I got a bunch of RB2s and RB3s. then you find yourself guessing wrong. So in that case, the difference between RB8 on your roster and RB12 on your roster is 0. They're a body. They're a placeholder. The difference between RB1 and RB2, if you can pay for a hammer in a start 9, it's a lot more important. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yep. So I'm just throwing this up here. Shane starred, I imagine. So start 10 means 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and 3 flex. It depends. But when we say start 9, start 10, we're talking about how many running backs, wide receivers, flexes, and tight ends you start, not including kicker and defense. Okay. So if you have 10 positional players and a kicker and defense, so technically that's 12 that you start every week, we call that a start 10 because kickers and defenses, aren't United States citizens as far as Shane's concerned.
I would hope not.
Yeah, real people.
I would get out of the country if it was my choice, but yeah, it's just me.
Could you imagine that? We got commander in chief. Shane is the worst.
And my first act is to deport all kickers.
Right off the bat, all kickers and defenses are gone.
I'm not worried about inflation. I'm worried about these kickers. Get them out of my country.
Yeah, first thing I'm going to do is tighten up Dynasty fantasy football. That's the first thing that's going to come across my desk. Okay, Justin, thank you for the super chat. Super chat, and it's an inbox trade. 12-team start 11 superflex PPR. Give Andrews a late 24 first and a late 24 second. Get DK Metcalf, the 2023 104 Waller, and Jelani Woods.
Give Andrews and a late 24 first, and I'm getting Metcalf to 104, Waller to Jelani. So Waller is useless. Metcalf, no.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm giving up. It's a start 11, so that second is still a piece that I could consider possibly useful. I'm not giving up the 24 first and Andrews. That's too much. I think it's probably like at least the 104 and Waller is worth Andrews right there, and then you're still giving up a first and a second for the other pieces. I'm passing here.
Yeah, this is a pass.
Let me ask you this, because you just brought up a question, or reminded me of a question I was going to ask earlier. So let's say it's a start 11. You said that late seconds can be valuable. Let's say it's a 12 or a 10 team start 9. How valuable is a mid 23 second?
Valuable in terms of it's valuable because it can get you within the right roster construction that you want. It's not valuable in terms of you're already assuming that player is going to be outside of the starter threshold. Right. So really that's where you have to read your league and just assume what is the easiest for me to, I hate to use this word, but what is the easiest way for me to exploit, fool somebody into thinking the pick is valuable? Sure, you're going to hit every once in a while on a mid-second and hit a starter that elevates into starter range in a 10-team start 9, but you don't look at those picks and you go, yeah, I'm going to rebuild my roster. I'm going to find a bunch of starters in that range. Now, sure, if you want to take 10 of those shots, you might hit on 2. But I don't want to waste 8 of them. I'd rather package the 4 and see if I can find a sucker like the trade earlier where they're going to give me a first for 3 or 4 seconds. Like that's where you try to get those extra picks simply because it's more likely you can overwhelm somebody with an offer.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that super chat, Justin. Appreciate it. And I'm going to be turning off the super chat so we can stop at some point tonight and answer non-super chat questions. And we actually got something that Shane starred here. If you're poor like me.
Oh, I did that one.
You already put that up? Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
Poor like me, at least you can hit the GD like.
And how I definitely said
likes,
GD.
By the way,
definitely
everybody who's hearing us talking right now has hit the like, I imagine. How are we looking, Shane?
It was dismal. I think it was negative likes actually the last time I checked.
Yeah, they're going down as I
didn't think that was possible. Apparently,
159
there. Yeah,
159. Okay, well, thank you everybody who's still in here. By the way, it looks like we've been in here for like an hour and a half or so. Okay, let's move on here. All right, back to the stream. We already did that.
Clay has a trade.
2023 class. You sent me a trade offer. Mm-hmm. Okay, which league? I'll pull it up when you guys are talking.
Mid-season degenerates.
Okay. Dakota says 23 class isn't gold when everyone is scared to death of running backs.
Yeah, look, we are frightened of running backs. Running backs scare me. They've hurt me repeatedly. Hello, Brees Hall, my old friend. Sometimes you just suck it up and you go, you know what? I'm going to draft 6 of them in the first round, and at least 3 of them are going to survive. I think that's the law of attrition, and I'm just going to hope for the best and try to move off these guys in the next year.
I think this is part of the reason why people are not as excited about this running back class. It's not because it's not good. In fact, it's really good, and there's going to be more of them available than we've probably ever seen within the range of where we want them for Dynasty. But it's just it's the market and people following the market, and it's going to be there's going to be people in the league that go, man, I really want to trade. I really want to draft, Zach Evans at the 109 because I mean he's as good as other running backs that have gone much higher in past drafts. But I don't want to take running backs. It's not how I want to build my team. So it is going to be fascinating because running backs are valued at an all-time low, but we have a really good running back class coming in. So it's just going to be fascinating to see the behaviors of people and how they treat the picks.
Look, if you have a good wide receiver room or a really strong wide receiver room, and you're at the point where, like I said, like we'll just look at like my HQ1 roster. I have like 6 total wide receivers on the roster. You can start 5. I only have 6 because honestly, there's no other wide receivers that would start over the other 5. The 6th is just the comfort. If you're in a position like that, at some point, yes, you do need to just be like, look, I'm taking the risk and I'm sticking my balls in this, and we're getting a running back, and we're just going to hope that they don't get injured. Now, they could get injured, but they could be Kenny Walker and they could last all year. It's just, I'm always going to try to move off of them immediately and pick up another asset when I do that. If Brees Hall pops, I'm looking at him like, all right, what other running back can I get that's giving me similar production, but I can also get another asset to add to it.
Alyssa has got a question. So I'm 12-0 in the 12-team Superflex. Congrats for being 12-0. That's a good start there. 12-team Superflex start 10. I'm loaded at quarterback, but need wide receiver help. Inbox offer. Justin Herbert for AJ Brown, Travis Kelce, and a mid-23 second. My QBs are Mahomes, Allen, DK, and Herbert. Love you guys. Appreciate it. So you're giving Justin Herbert, you're getting AJ Brown, Travis Kelce, and a mid-23 second. Does she have the flexibility to make this
Mahomes,
trade?
Allen, Dak, and Herbert.
Mahomes, Allen, Dak, and Herbert.
All right.
See, I'm the person that would go, I wouldn't do this. I would always stick to my guns, but maybe that's one of my blind spots because I know what Shane's going to say. Let's hear it, Shane. You're taking this trade, aren't you?
No. I'm saying if I'm trading Herbert, regardless of what my quarterback position is, I've better done my due diligence, and Justin Jefferson better been declined first. Jamar Chase had better been declined first instead of if I'm weak at wide receiver. Although Kelsey's pretty nice.
You're getting the next tier down receiver and Travis.
I understand that, but I want the one.
What if this is the best offer you've gotten and you have 72 hours to accept it? And then that's the only offer you will get on these quarterbacks until the offseason. And it could cost you a title.
Or they'll murder my family if I don't accept or deny this trade. I'll take it. Look, and it's bad process, but at some point I want to win. And I've got Allen, Mahomes, and Dak as my 3 quarterbacks after that. Unless Jesus comes down himself and murders my quarterbacks, I'm in good shape. Like, we're going to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, she's 12-0, as is. I know she wants to lock up a title by, getting AJ Brown and Travis Kelce, already 12-0. I see what you're saying, Shane. I would want to do my diligence first, but yeah, there's some flexibility to be able to trade Herbie away for some hammers.
I mean, and she's 12-0 already. So I mean,
yeah,
what is she currently starting that is weak?
Yeah, I know that's why it's
her one weakness. This is going to be her wide receiver 4. She's sticking AJ Brown in there and then just sticking Travis Kelce in at tight end, and it's just going to murder people the rest of the year. Hey, listen, next time you want to brag, super chat.
I mean, this is that's a pretty stacked roster. Nice job.
It is. Okay, let's go on to a super chat from Tyler B. 1 QB start 8. Traded J.K. Dobbins, Rashad Bateman, and a second for Dalvin Cook and Tyler Lockett. have Javonte, JT, ETN, JJ, Higgins, Waddle, 102, 103, and 104. So new guys are just for the playoff push. Okay, so Dalvin and Lockett were just for the playoff push. What should I try to get for them in the off season? That's going to be your challenge.
You're not going to get anything for Tyler Lockett. So you're going to stick him back in your pocket and go, you know what? One of these years, we're going to learn that Tyler Lockett's just going to be a top 20 wide receiver until the day he dies. And I'm never going to be able to get value for him. So I'm just going to hold on to him. Dalvin, you're probably going to go to someone like me. That's like, hey, I want to kind of buy some old running backs. Maybe I will give you my late 2023 first for Dalvin. Once the draft is nearing and we see that end of the first isn't, unicorns and rainbows like we expected it to be.
I'm going to just pick out the team in your league where you go, that guy's a clown. I don't think he's very good at Dynasty. Sell him Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
Do that now before you even get to the offseason and you're tempted to go, oh, Javonte's going to turn it back around. Like he's already excess on your roster. You're going to be able to get way more for him than you are Dalvin Cook. You just traded for Dalvin Cook and paid what you paid. You're eating him until he's done. You're just going to have him on your team. So shift the assets forward with like Javonte because he would have an appeal to one of those teams where you go, wow, man. That guy's really going to give me his 2024 102 for Javonte Williams, and I don't even need Javonte Williams. Like that's how you continue to sustain the dynasty. Good job, great team.
That's the move to do. Is you try to sell like an injured, Javonte Williams to a rebuilding team. You get their 24 first. All of a sudden, they're still rebuilding, and you're sitting on the 102 in 2024 in that class. Should be pretty nice. Okay, moving on to Colin here. Thank you very much for the super chat, man. 10 team, 2 QB, start 10, have Josh Allen, Kyler, ETN, Dillon, Jefferson, Higgins, Waddle, DK Pickens, Mark Andrews. That's a 101, 102, 103, 104, 106, and 7. Should I trade Kyler and the 101 for Patrick Mahomes?
Okay, this is 3 straight questions of people that literally have just stolen like every asset in their league, and they just want to know how to move them around to dominate even more. So I love that those are the people that are submitting the questions because it's just like, can you even screw this up? Honestly,
yes, I could. Yes,
yeah,
Shane could.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about this because the running backs are ETN and Dillon. I mean, it's a stacked roster, right? Let's be honest. But ETN and Dillon. So if we were to trade Kyler and the 101 for Mahomes, so at 102, you could do a ton of things. You've got the entire freaking draft in your pocket too.
Here's
you could
the
take
thing, right?
Gibbs. You could address, take a running back, and you can buy a bunch of stuff if you wanted to.
I'm fine with
Get
making
Mahomes.
this deal.
Get Mahomes
I'm
on
fine
your
with
roster.
not making this deal. To be quite honest, how about this? Can I trade Kyler and the 106 and go get Jalen Hurts? How about that? Go do that because Jalen Hurts is the QB2 in Dynasty.
Here's the dominant move. Can I get Mahomes without giving up Kyler?
I'm more concerned about giving up the 101.
No, I don't care because if it's a 2 QB, if I have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Kyler Murray and I start 10, my floor is the playoffs. I don't care about Bijan. I mean, you have all these other picks to address the other positions. I mean, if I could do that, that's actually even better because I can see a way where you give up Kyler in the 101 and the other team could beat you with that, right? Like that's not a bad process trade. If you're sitting on a bad roster that has Mahomes and you're like, damn, I can just go down to Kyler and you're giving me the 101. So I think in that regard, it's a little bit of an overpay. I would try to do it without giving up Kyler. I know that might be tough, but man, I would give up the 101, 102, 104 to get Mahomes. I'd rather do that and keep Kyler. Just my personal take on it.
I don't know that they'll do that though. I feel like Kyler is essential to this trade.
You just convince them, hey man, you're getting CJ Stroud or Bryce Young at the 102 and you're getting another player at the 104. So I try to talk them into it.
All right, sold. I will make this deal.
Yeah, you've got so much leverage right there in that draft. You'll be able to make some things happen with
another great team. Good job, Colin Porter.
Yep. Okay, let's I think we already did that one. Yeah, let me unstar that so I don't double it up. Okay. 270 video says, "Hey guys, sad day. I had my first Dynasty League collapse today over tanking issues. At least I have 26 other great leagues. Solid communication and league constitutions are important."
Yeah, I'll say this. So me and Scott in the roster
Or some
reviews,
out. Or
we
some
do
out.
we do say this a lot when we're like, look, make sure you check, the pulse of your league before you do something like put your second year guys on the taxi squad in the middle of the season because you're trying to tank to the bottom. We always say try to know the pulse of your league so you're not doing something that could lead to the ruin and the demise of the league. But if the league ends, you know what? Sometimes it's just better for relationships to end, and you can still be friends.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. Sorry that you cost yourself your first league, but I would also say if it's gonna fold that quickly in the middle of a season,
Yeah,
then I'm not bashing your commish necessarily, but like I have some leagues where we could probably clean up the bylaws a little bit. They're not perfect. Someone could exploit them, 5%. But I think if you have a commish that's reasonable and willing to kind of like make the best decision for the league, even if it costs you one person or one team that you have to fill. I mean, there's been so many times where I've stepped in and I've been like, all right, I'm not going to lose the league over one person. I'll remove the one manager and I'll pay for someone else to take over the team. Like that's
Mhm.
worth more to me than losing the entire league. So if the whole thing collapses, I'm guessing it's more than a tanking issue. It's probably half the people in the league were ready for it to
yeah,
collapse, and then they're just like, yeah, this was the perfect time to to blame this tanking issue on why it collapsed. So
yeah.
sorry it happened, but yeah, you got other leagues.
Yeah, so let's this is from another league, I guess, from 270 videos. Did I screw up? 12 team superflex, 1.75 tight end premium, full PPR for wide receivers, start 11. Gave Garrett Wilson, Drake London, and the 2023 201 received Kyle Pitts and a random 24 first.
I don't
Start
think he screwed
11.
up. Yeah, hey, I'm okay with it. He essentially traded one of those guys for Pitts, and he still got a 24 first back for the other receiver. I mean, the 201 start 11, it's not a terrible piece, but 1.75 premium, I like paying this price for the potential advantage. But I can see why someone took the other receivers. They were just, sick of waiting on Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with this deal. You didn't screw up. You're good, dude. Kyle Pitts, we were talking about him before the season. Well, me mostly, about how many firsts he should be worth. I know he's had a rough year, but he's still uber elite, and he's still just 23 years old, 22 years old. I like this deal. You're fine. I hate giving up Garrett Wilson, but yeah, I like this deal.
Yep. Okay, let's put this one up here. This is kind of a broad question, but we'll rap about it as we always do. I step on short people says, "What do you do if you have almost no draft picks?" Okay, so let's assume this. Let's assume you have a pretty strong team, but it's aging and you have almost no draft picks. So you've got a nice contending roster right now, but you can see the expiration coming. You've got no draft picks. What do you do?
I mean, it's tough to answer in one cohesive thought.
Trade for some. Every trade that you do involves you getting a pick back. I don't care if it's a third or a fourth. They do accumulate like nickels, and then before you know it, you turn one of those into 6 cents, not $1. It doesn't really work like that. You can't turn three threes into a second, but you might be able to attach a third to a player and get a second. So that's one of the things I'm doing is just I'm trying to get picks back on every deal I make, even if they seem inconsequential, thirds and fourths.
Yeah, that's a good point of trying to get like just the extra third, extra fourth thrown in. I will also say this: a lot of times when I see someone that says they have no draft picks, what they're really saying is they don't have a lot of assets,
Mhm.
or they have all their resources pooled into like a couple assets or all risky player assets, right? So I think this is where if you have no draft picks, but you also have in a start 9, you have 17 of the top 50 players. Okay, then all you have to do is basically convert players into draft picks. You can do 1-for-1s, and all you're gaining is flexibility, right? But you still have good assets. Normally, I don't have any draft picks because I've tried to make up for the fact that I don't have enough assets, and I've traded my draft picks for speculative assets. So I think really the answer to this question is you have to look at spots where you can split assets. How many times do we talk about splitting assets? And you have to do it in the right spots. You have to look at certain player values and say, okay, can I do this receiver for another receiver in a second? And can I make a couple of those deals? And just gamble that I can hit on an equivalent player when I get that type of trade and take advantage of the current market. So it's fluid. It changes week to week, month to month, off season. It's wild, wild west. But usually this means I don't have enough assets total. So I need to find ways where I can turn, this is the whole, I turn $1 into 80 cents and 50 cents and just hope that they both accumulate in value. And I have now 2 assets that are worth something.
Kyle, thank you for the super chat. Inbox offer 12 team start 8 PPR Superflex. Give Jeff Wilson a top 2023 first. Get Dalvin, Pollard, and that's it. So give Jeff Wilson and a top 5 23 first. Get Dalvin Cook and Tony Pollard.
Dude, Jeff Wilson's as good as Dalvin Cook this year.
In second place with Hurts, Tua, JT, Chubb, Tyreek, Devontae, Kittle.
Nah. I'm gonna hold on to Wilson in the pick. I can't get a better running back than Dalvin is the highlight of that offer.
Here's the thing:
centerpiece of that show.
It's a start 8. Why do you need to trade for 2 running backs when you already have Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb? His starting lineup is already set. So I think this is one of those where you're probably trying to fill out the perfect playoff team where it's like, man, I have enough depth in case 3 of my starters go down. Really, the way you need to look at it is, how do I win, not trade that 105 and still hold the asset? I can go into the offseason and go, man, I still have an asset. I can go make an even better team in 2023. So I would listen. Can you buy Tony Pollard without giving up the 105? What do I need? Can I give up 2 seconds and get Tony Pollard? If you want to do that, I'd rather do that than give up that 105. That 105 is the trade chip that I don't want to touch.
Yeah, and unless you really need to. If something goes down and you still want to win the ship, and then buy something then. But try to win without giving up that top 5 pick, because that's how you keep dynasties going. That's how you refresh. Okay, let's hide this current comment here. We've got just a few more left here. I realize I'm starting to get very tired. I'm gonna pass out on cam here. Heavy Kevy, wake us up. There's some cheesy stuff coming from Clay. I still got it. 12 team, Superflex, PPR, 1.5 tight end premium, start 10. Give Sky Moore and 2 late 23 firsts, a 24 first, and a 24 second. Get Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, and Amari Cooper. Team is loaded, going for a second championship.
Go win another title, bro. Really hurts giving up that Sky Moore. No, it doesn't.
This is the kind of trade that when this goes through and the league sees it, they go, they're just like,
so deflating.
They bash the guy that gave him these pieces because they're like, dude, you just handed him the freaking championship.
Yeah.
It's a good here's the thing. If you break this down, we won't even get there because we don't need to. It's a good dynasty trade too. He's actually getting pretty decent value.
Getting good value, yeah.
And he already has a loaded team that's adding 3 guys he can start. Good job, Heavy Kevy.
And just the other guy is probably, or girls, like, dude, I offered this to everyone in the league and no one made me any offers. These dudes have been on my trade block all year. No one's come for them. I don't want to hear it.
Well, you know what? You know why he got this trade? Because Heavy Kevy has 3 firsts and 2 seconds to trade.
Yeah.
And is actually willing to trade him. So this is what we talked about all summer of like, this is why you want the picks, because you never know when something like this is going to show up. So well done, sir. Well done.
So Shane sent me an offer. Let's go over this real quick. Mid-season degenerates. So I give Amon-Ra St. Brown and a 23 second, which is looking like it's mid right now. I get David Montgomery.
You're 23 second.
Yeah, so it's like mid, I think, right? I'm like right there.
I get starting rosters.
Just David Montgomery, Cortland Sutton, and a third.
What are their starting rosters? I'm just curious.
I think we start 12 in this league.
Deep. It's deep. Sounds like you're getting
Shane. What side was you taking that trade?
Yeah, what side are you taking?
I would definitely take the side offered to Clay. I think that is a fair deal. He's a playoff team.
I got a bunch of Cortland Sutton. Let me see if I can send those to Shane.
Cortland Sutton, by the way, is outscoring. Well, not on my Ross St. Brown, but several players that I looked at.
I'll wait to. Oh, can you? How about this? I'll give you Zach Wilson for David Montgomery.
Hey, it is a quarterback in a super flex league. So if we had XFL scoring, because that's the next time we're going to see that dude play, I might do it.
Yeah, I'll. I don't want to be bad podcasting here. I'll decline that in a second. All right. All right, let's keep going here. Mike M just puts. Oh, my name's on here. Who started this? Best Dynasty content available. Shout out to Clay. Underappreciated, but brings this whole thing together perfectly. Thank you, Mike M. It's a great team we got going on here. Appreciate it. Rustless Corpse. 12 team. Look at that avatar. It's like, what? 12 team Superflex tight end premium. It's a 1.5 tight end premium. Start 10. Only 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, 0 tight ends required. I have Hurts, Russ, Geno, Swift, Dobbins. Is it crazy to trade the 101 for the 102 and 104 plus either Kyler or Fields? I also have 105 and a late one.
This is super flex.
It's a super flex.
You're trading the 101 for the 102, 104.
And either and Fields will maybe take it.
Yeah, I'll take that. No, that's not crazy.
No, you'll definitely do it. And I think it's even more important to realize it's a start 1 running back league. That is the league to trade the 101 more importantly than a start 2. So yeah, I don't. You probably just hate. I mean, he just handed him a smash deal. Go get it.
Yeah, go get it, and then see if you can get either Kyler or Fields, whichever one you didn't.
You'll wake up from the dead after getting that trade.
Yeah. No, for sure. Okay, let's move this one. Let's go to. Looks like one was unstarred there. Did I do that? Okay. Joey says rookie draft is the cheapest place you can get a stud running back. Much easier to trade for wide receiver 2s.
Yeah, yes. And look, it's much easier. I'd rather trade 3 first-round draft picks for a wide receiver, rookie picks for a wide receiver, and then just use my rookie picks that I actually make on running backs all day. Like that, that will never change as far as I can tell, unless they start making ACLs out of like vibranium or something.
It's coming. Yeah,
probably.
Dibs asks, how do you adjust when other teams don't value draft picks? I'm a contender with 323 firsts, 2 seconds, trying to move some to upgrade for the playoffs, but haven't been able to. Do I just have to overpay?
Well,
go ahead, Shane.
I mean, just simple psychology. They don't value draft picks, so what do they value? I need to find what they value. The easy answer is like, yes, you overpay if you feel like that's the only way to get it done, but they have to value something. And that's what I want to find, what it is that they actually value. Do they value old running backs because they have fun names like Ezekiel Elliott? Okay, well then let me try to move players like that.
This feels like to me like this is a league that really values Austin Eckler.
Right. And then you know what? I'm just going to accrue picks, a ton of picks, and then I'll make a lot of those picks. If the league doesn't want to take picks from me, then fine. Then I'm just going to win on quantity of draft picks. I don't need to be really good at drafting rookies if I'm drafting 4 in every first round. I'm just the numbers are going to work out my favor one way or the other.
They probably value like Ken Walker, Chris Olave, good rookies that were just draft picks, 8 months ago. So just lean into what your league values and get more of that. If it's not draft picks, then you got to probably make more of them.
Yep. Here, let me add this one in here. This was in the community tab, and again, if you posted in the community tab and I didn't get to it, my apologies. Keep putting things in there, and we really try. We have so many unanswered on all of these people in house and on the post. So our apologies, man. This was one I feel I did well, but wanted to get your opinion on the trade. 10 team, 1 QB, start 9. Gave Fields and Hawkinson and a late 23 second. Got Kyle Pitts and Trey Lance. I have Herbert already, and I'm in a rebuild.
Well, Shane's muted, but it's a 1 QB, so I'm okay trading away your second quarterback for a riskier second quarterback, but going from Hawkinson to Pitts. So I like this is one where it might look like you actually overpaid, but if Pitts hits, this is a deal you're going to look back and go, man, I'm glad I made that. And that doesn't even, the Lance and Fields really doesn't matter a whole lot to me. It's really the shot on Pitts.
Because you have Herbert, like that's some flexibility there.
You're giving up a late second in Hawk for Kyle Pitts. Like, just think about that sentence. 4 months ago, I know that Pitts had one, not even a bad season, a rough season in his sophomore season. But imagine saying that 4 months ago that you traded a second in TJ Hawkinson for Kyle Pitts. Like, people would be calling the police on you.
Yep. Okay. I'll put that one on after this one that you just started. Okay. Here's our last real one, we think, from Dynasty Scardy. Taking Young or Stroud in a 10-team superflex over Gibbs when you already have Watson, Tua, and Pickett?
No, but I also am not like super excited to draft Jahmyr Gibbs either. This would be one of those where I'm probably just open to moving the pick.
Right.
Because I don't think the format tells me I have to smash the quarterback at 102. But I also wonder what I can get with that 102 when someone else might want to take the quarterback. And I already have my quarterback room like kind of assembled how I want.
I'm probably going to piss the league off and draft Jordan Addison, and everyone will be like, you could have got him at 104. And I'll be like, no, I wanted to trade me back to 104, bro. So I just took him at here. So leave me alone.
Yeah. I can't wait these drafts are going to be fun this upcoming season. Everybody's hating on running backs. There's a lot of good ones. Yeah.
Here's a sneak
preview. The 23 class is like, it's been so hyped for so long.
Here's a sneak preview of my 23 to-do list. I'm getting running backs from everywhere. Old ones, young ones.
And then here's one. I take Zach for Monty all day. Don't sleep on the MILF Hunter.
No, because then he'll go bang your mom. So definitely don't sleep on the MILF Hunter.
Well, there it is. That a subscriber that we trust, BMAC, just said he would take Zach Wilson for David Montgomery. So there's your deal, right there, Shane.
Well, we got so now we just need to figure out how to get the Amon-Ra part involved in it. So
I think that's probably the part Clay doesn't want to part with.
Yeah. No, I like that team too. The team's close. Except I have Najee Harris. That's an issue.
Quentin Johnson, baby. You're right.
Okay.
Mike.
Quentin Johnson, TCU. So thank you guys for joining tonight. We did almost 2 hours here. Still have 247 people in here. Double check that you hit that like, but this was fun as always, and we'll plan on joining you again on Tuesday night. Everybody, good luck this weekend. Hope you make the right start decisions. Get it into the playoffs. Get that little asterisk next to your name on the sleeper standings for one, saying that you clinched a playoff spot. Guys, any parting words here to our friends?
No, just awesome turnout again. Tuesday we had a great turnout. Love it when we get a same type of turnout on Saturday. Good luck week 13 to everybody. There's a lot of good games. So just sit back, enjoy some football, but we'll be back on Tuesday. This is grind season. We're getting real close to the playoffs. So in a month, we will be to the point where it's like, let's focus on next year, which will feel like next year's a long way away, but it'll be here before you know it. So just enjoy what we have left.
This is such a great time of the year, though, because you can talk about ongoing stuff. You can talk about team building. You can talk about the draft. You can talk about the playoffs. I love this time of year. It is really awesome. It doesn't have to be so one track. So appreciate everybody coming out with the awesome questions.
Yep. All right. We'll see you again soon. Good luck.